start.
Totally silly.
Hey, before we do, get your blocks and have them handy by
Lucky, he's a good driver.
so that you have your blocks handy so if you need them, they'll be there. And that'll remind everybody to get blocks as well.
Giggling in a good way, that makes you take years off your life by giggling.
Just sit comfortably. So you know whether you want to stretch your legs out or cross your legs. Just really be mindful if you need to shift around a little bit so that you can even your way out, sitting on your two sitting bones there and lengthening up through the top of your head. And just enjoy accepting your breaths in and out through your nose. And really feel like that central column of your spine is supporting you, and you can let your shoulders release and your hips. So if you feel like you're kind of gripping in your hips a little bit, try to let go. And try to imagine your shoulders relaxing down away from your ears. Easily accept your breath into those three parts, inhaling into your belly, into your ribs, and then all the way up into your chest. And letting the exhales come out of your chest first, and then your ribs, and then your belly. Let our torsos make these little circles, and they can be very small, so that as you move with your breath, your exhalations bring you forward, and your inhales bring you back, so that you just keep on circling in the same direction. It can get bigger and bigger, the circles can, if it feels very good to do that. Going to stop and go the other direction. So take your time. You stop where it feels good. And again, when you start to circle the other way, it can be a small circle at first and stay that way, or you can let the circles get bigger and bigger. Next time that you end up being a little bit forward, let yourself stay there. A little seated forward bend. You can put your hands on blocks in front of you or on the floor. You can walk further forward and out if that feels good to you. Just be mindful. Feel the outside edges of your feet gently coming down into the ground. If you're cross-legged, so it depends on what part of your feet are touching the floor, obviously. And then just be mindful. Let your head hang if possible, as long as it doesn't bother your neck. And we're going to walk ourselves all the way on back up. Let your hands come on out beside you, fingertips lightly touching the ground. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale our hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open our arms on back out and down. And now inhale your right arm up, and then just bring it across your chest and let your left hand come to your upper arm and just draw the arm gently across so that you're using your left hand to just gently pull a little bit all the way up into your shoulder. And then we'll release, and we're going to switch arms. So bring the left arm across, and again, your right hand, try not to lift the shoulder way up. Try to let the shoulder release down, and then just gently pull across there. Let it feel really good, releasing into your shoulder and into your bicep and your tricep a little bit. And then come on back down with your hands. And circle your hands around a little bit. Make circles one way and the other, feeling your wrists. Now, let's reach over and get one of those blocks and bring the block between your hands forward this way so that it's the long way, right? So that, I mean, it doesn't matter if you turn it that way or that way, but you just want that much distance between your hands, okay? And then just press gently into the block. Let your elbows hug in a little bit. So find that sense of not tensing up in your shoulders, but instead releasing down. You can keep your elbows a little bent. As you inhale, the arms up higher. Take your time, go as far as you can. And when you've gone as far as you can, see if you can bend your elbows and put the block somewhere behind your head or maybe onto your upper back. It depends on you. And then squeeze your elbows a little bit forward, just a little bit. Let it feel good. Really enjoy. Feel the belly engaging. Feel your tailbone reaching down towards the ground a little bit. Make sure you're not tucking it up under you. And then start to extend your arms back long again. Let yourself extend back into long arms. And now we're going to come over into a bit of a side stretch. Not much, right? Keep your hands just gently coming into the block. And then we'll rise back up to the top and go to the other side. Just little tiny little side bends there. Good. And now let's come on back up to the top again. And bring our hands forward with the block still. Now squeeze a little more, hands pressing into that block as you get lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. Good. And then we're going to bring that block down. Now if you're on the floor, you obviously can't do this one, Catherine, but bring your blocks in close to you to the lowest height so that you can have your hands on the blocks and your fingertips can kind of drape over the front edge of your blocks there. Take a nice inhale. You can do this part. You can exhale, draw your navel towards your spine. Now really draw your tailbone forward, round a little bit, and then press into your arms and lift up your bottom off the floor if you can. See if you can stay there for a breath. If anybody wants to switch the cross of their legs real quickly, you can switch across your legs. And then you can come on back down, right? If you couldn't switch the cross up there high, go ahead and switch them now, right? And then from here, release your hands off the blocks and circle through your wrist again a little bit with loose fists. If your hands are loose fists this time, circle both ways. Good. And then bring your right hand onto that block. Bring the block out a little bit from you. And it'll kind of depend on you. You're going to come down onto your forearm, turning the palm of your right hand up right here. And then lengthen up through your left arm here and come on over into a side stretch. So that you've got a kind of a good alignment for that bottom right shoulder when you've got your hand on the block. Forearm on the block like this with your palm turned up. Let it feel good. Breathe into that side. If it is okay for your neck, turn to look down towards the block there under your arm. And then turn your gaze back up again to look forward. And we're going to rise all the way on back up. And we are going to come to the other side. So that other block needs to move out a little ways. And again, as you put your forearm down, kind of get comfortable. Turn the palm up. And then add that right arm up and over. Let yourself just breathe into the right ribs here. Feeling all that space between the ribs. Let it feel really good to open up all those little muscles between the ribs now, getting a wonderful stretch. If you can turn to look down a little bit, do, if it doesn't bother your neck. And then we'll rise on back up again, coming all the way back up to the top. And now bring your hands behind you. You can stay on fingertips. Draw your chest just a little bit forward. You can look directly forward or you can look up a little. That's totally up to you. So be mindful. And then we'll release and come on back up. And let's stretch our legs out here for a second and move through your feet and your ankles a little bit. But grab your blocks for one more go at this, one more shot, right? This time, if you can have them up a little higher, do. And we're going to keep our legs long, and we're going to try to lift ourselves up from here. But at first, take a nice inhale. And when you exhale, draw your navel towards your spine. Really round the tailbone forward. And then when you press up, there you are. You can even do little tricep push-ups if you want here. So you can bend your elbows a little bit. Let yourself move a little bit here into the arms. Good. And then we're going to release and come on back down. Good. And bring your blocks on off. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. So let yourself release on around. And at first, before you go to your hands, come down to your forearms so that you're on your elbows and your knees, really, you know, so that you're down a little bit here if you can be. Let your head hang for a second. Look back so that you're just letting your head hang and looking back behind yourself. Take a nice full breath here. Let your ribs start to sink a little bit down towards the mat or towards your chair if you're up in your chair. Good. And then let's go ahead and come on up to all fours with our hands on the mat. Now, if you know this bothers your wrists, come to fists. We'll start to move through our cat-cows easily. So let yourself start to flow through the spine, tailbone initiating. How deeply you go into your cats or your cows is totally up to you. Be mindful, let it feel good. Good, finish off the one you're on. And make your way to a more neutral spine. And let's send our right foot behind us on the floor. Curl the toes under, press into your heel and engage your belly. And then reach your left hand forward. Keep the fingertips on the floor, but the left hand is down forward a little bit here. It almost kind of makes you feel like an animal, right? We're going to lift the left arm and the right leg up parallel to the floor. Engage the belly a little bit here. One more breath. And then we'll bring the hand back under the shoulder, the knee back under your hip here. Stretch your left leg long, curl the toes under, press into the heel. Engage your belly. So be mindful, you kind of know what's coming. As you send the right hand, just fingertips are on the floor. Let yourself find that sense of stability there. And then when you start to float the arm and the leg up, maybe it's a little bit easier from there. Let yourself enjoy. Engage your belly. Find what stability you can. And then bring the hand back down under the shoulder and the knee back down under the hip. And we are going to step our left foot forward and our right foot back for our first lunge. So grab your blocks if you like them. Take your time, get whatever height you want to be with your hands and whatever length of stance feels good for you. Just make sure you have your feet not lined up like you're on a tightrope, but apart a little bit like you're on those very narrow railroad tracks. And then from here, do a little pulses. So when you inhale, just think about your hips lifting up and the front knee, not straightening, but it immediately gets a little straighter when your hips rise. And when you exhale, come back down into the lunge. So the inhale, you rise up a little bit with the hips. You exhale, you come back into the full lunge. So the inhale lifts the hips up a bit, and the exhale brings you back to lunge. And we are going to switch legs from here. So coming to the other side, finding that length of stance now, and of course the width of stance, it feels good. Just enjoy coming into finding that alignment of that front knee, reaching into that inner back heel, and those little pulses. As you inhale, hips rise up, and as you exhale, you come back down into your full lunge. So inhale, letting yourself feel that little movement. That exhale brings your hips down lower again. Inhaling, coming up a bit. And on the exhale, as you come into that lunge, press the feet gently away from each other like you're making your mat longer. Finish off in your full lunge. And we will step forward from here, coming on into our standing forward bend. Whatever support you'd like to have underneath your hands. Remember, you can put your elbows above your knees if that's better for your back. And just enjoy. Feel the weight of your head. Maybe move your head around a little bit. And you know, you can find all different ways to move your head, that's for sure. Anything that helps you find the weight of your head and helps you release. And then just watch those breaths easily, fully, deeply coming in and going out. And as you feel your feet in the floor now, bend your knees a little bit. Rise your toes up off the floor and let your hands come on up to your hips. Keep your toes up as you rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And when the hands come down, we're going to let the toes come down too. Letting your toes melt down to the floor, bringing your hands together in front of your chest. Coming into your mountain pose there. If you need to adjust a little bit, do. Sometimes just a little incremental move is all it takes to get you into a place where you feel more balanced. So just take your time. Whether your eyes are opened or closed, feel that sense of bringing your gaze on out beyond the wall, out towards the horizon. Just feel really open and receiving through your whole body, really. Like you're breathing in and out through every pore of your skin. And as we unfold our arms right on down beside us here, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bend our knees as we come forward, hinging from the hips, coming into your standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find the most long back you can find here. Bend your knees a little bit with that flat back and press your feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat wider with your feet. And we're going to step our right foot back from here and come on into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So yay for the dog. Take your time. Walk if you need, move around however you need to in your dog. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other. And now just for fun, pretend you're just going to walk your feet up a little towards your hands. Not all the way, just walk a few, 3 or 4 little steps up. And then keep your heels off the floor and then walk your feet back into your dog again. And maybe go a little farther back than you were before with your feet. Heels hover off the mat here, elbows hugging towards each other. Reach back through your tailbone. And on your next inhale, come on out towards your plank. Engage your belly a little bit. See if you can bring your right knee down all the way to the mat and press into the top of the right toes. And then stretch it back to full plank. So you're back in your full plank. Lower your left knee down, go to the top of the toes. Press into your toenails, top of the toes there. And then go back to your full plank again. And we're going to lower down. You can put your knees down first if you want. Elbows right by the ribs. And then from here, let's come to our forearms. Come into a little Sphinx pose for a second. Bring your gaze between your hands. Try to feel length in the back of your neck and your throat. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to come down. Now this time, we're going to bring our right arm straight out from our shoulder on the floor and put our left hand in by our chest, like we're going to do a push-up, okay? Because you're going to press into your left hand and roll a little to your right side. Now, your left leg can end up kind of on top of your right leg so that you're opening up through the right side of your chest. Now, if this right hand needs to lower down a little bit to be comfortable, do. And if it hurts your shoulder, don't do this. Some of you might even want to bend your left knee and put your left foot on the floor and let your hips go back towards the ground more. That's up to you. So one more breath. And then we're going to come all the way back down to our chest. We're going to bring our right hand in like we're going to do a push-up with our right hand and stretch our left arm out from our shoulder. Remember, it can be a little lower. And then just press. You might just barely roll to the left side of your head, barely pick your right foot up off the floor. Or maybe it feels good to put the foot all the way onto the floor behind you and let the knee come up towards the ceiling. That's pretty intense, so be mindful. Let it feel good. Opening up through the left side of your chest. If it hurts your shoulder, don't do it. We're gonna come all the way back down to our belly. Hands now right by our chest. And inhale into a little cobra. If you feel like you'd rather go all the way, then you can rise on up into your cobra. Just make sure you're not locking your elbows here. And then we'll lower ourselves all the way back down. We're going to come back to down dog, whether you come through a half or a full push-up. Right on back into dog. Spread your fingers wide. Hug your elbows towards each other. Reach back through your tailbone. And this time the right foot is going to come forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come all the way back into our standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Try lifting your toes up again. And if your hands can get down there, you can kind of let yourself massage your toes a little bit as they're up in the air. Just take a little bit of time to squeeze a toe at a time maybe. And then when you get ready to lower your toes, really see if you can let them be very softly down into the floor. If your hands are accessible to be on top of them, you can even just rest your fingers on top of your toes. And encourage them just to release there. One more full deep breath. And then we'll let our hands come back up to our hips, bend our knees, rising on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. We're going to unfold our arms beside us, clasp our hands behind us. When you inhale, let your arms come a little bit away from you. And when you exhale, let them release back down. So inhaling, arms come off the back a little bit. And exhaling, releasing down. And one more time, inhaling, letting the arms come away, maybe even more. And on the exhale, letting them release down. Take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, bend your knees and come on forward. Now you can stay with a flat back and be parallel to the floor and be fine there. You can, if you'd like, fold forward over your legs. And whether your arms release away from your back or not is up to you and your shoulders. Feel your feet in the floor now. Press the feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat wider so you feel that all the way up into your hips. And then we're going to release hands back to the back and all the way down towards the floor. Inhale into a nice long back. And exhale our left foot back into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into that downward facing dog pose. So again, finding your dog, find your hands and get your elbows hugging in. And then again, play a little bit with walking your feet closer up towards your hands, but not very close, just a little bit. Keep your heels off the floor and then walk back again. So keep walking back and maybe go into that dog where you really feel like your heels are hovering off the mat, you're reaching through your tailbone. And from here, it feels totally natural to come right out to your plank. So let's rise on forward into plank. Engage your belly here. Bend your elbows a tiny little bit. And then you decide if you want to put your knees down, but we're going to come all the way down to the mat. And we'll come into that cobra again. Now you can stay low. You can come up higher. That is totally up to you. Elbows hugging in. Let your head turn just a little bit side to side if you can in your cobra. Good. And then we'll come on back down, all the way back down to the floor. Stretch your arms out towards the front corners of your mat. Palms are facing down. And on your next inhale, come into a locust where everything lifts up that you can. And it doesn't have to be high. So you're in that wide V with your arms. Feel the back engaging here. Good. One more breath. And as you come down, bring your hands back by your chest. We're going to come on back into down dog, whether it's through a full or a half push-up. And we will bring our left foot forward to find lunge here. And then we'll come back into standing forward bend again. So easily getting your feet set there. If you're fine to hold your elbows, by all means do. If you feel like you need some more support of any kind, use your blocks, use your elbows above your knees. And now soft face. Really just imagine trying to let the face be totally released everywhere around your eyes, your mouth, across your forehead. Let your throat feel totally released and open. And as we let our hands come on back up to our hips, we'll bend our knees and rise up. Inhaling our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, letting our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands up through the midline. Bend your elbows here. Clasp your hands. Put it behind your head. And let yourself just release the back of your head more to your hands so that the hands just support the head as your chin rises a little bit. So you're really just feeling like the head is weightless because you're holding it, but you're pressing gently into your hands, opening up through the front body. Make sure you're not tucking your tailbone forward. One more inhale. And on the exhale, release your arms like wings. Come forward, stay flat back where you're like an airplane, where you have wings out beside you, arms straight out. You're in that nice long back. And then as you exhale, we're going to fold forward all the way if you can into your forward bend. Let your next inhale lengthen your spine. And exhale, right foot back into lunge. We'll move with the breath. Inhale. Exhale into your down dog. Let your inhale carry you to your plank. Let your exhale lower you down. And your inhale will bring you into your cobra of choice. Exhaling back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to your lunge, and inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees rising all the way up to the top. And on the exhale, we'll come forward. Inhale into that long back, and exhale, left foot back to lunge. Inhale. Exhale into your down dog. Let your inhale carry to your plank, and let your exhale lower you down. And your inhale into cobra. Exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising again, floating to the top. Letting your exhale bring you forward. Inhale, long back. We're going to come into down dog, however you choose to get there. So placing your hands, take your time. If you need to look at your hands, do. If you need to wag your tail around a little bit, or walk, or use that sense of pressing into the tops of the toes to walk through your feet a bit. Good. And then come on back to your full dog. And bring your feet a little closer together. Let's lift our left leg up in the air. Let the toes face down. And we're going to come forward like we're going to do plank and bring that left knee in so the thigh comes towards your chest a bit. And then when you inhale, come back into that three-legged dog. So exhale, bringing yourself forward. Knee comes in. And inhale, stretching it back. And then one more time. Exhale, bringing that knee in. And then inhale, stretching it back. One more breath on your three legs. And then we're going to bring that left foot forward and through to warrior two. You may want blocks handy. Take your time to line up your heels. And bring yourself into that bend of that front knee. Be mindful, let your hands come gently together in front of your chest and just let your chin come down a little bit towards your chest. So you're releasing there for a second and feeling very centered. And then the next time you inhale, let your head rise up so your chin's parallel to the floor. And now we'll inhale the hands right up through the midline. And we're going to open the arms like wings and bring the arms down for warrior two, turning the palms down as they come. And letting your gaze end up there over the top of your left hand. Feel energy all the way out through your fingertips. Feel the sense of shoulders releasing down, arms being held up from underneath. Good. And let's bring our right arm arm down and fold the arm behind us here. Turn your left palm up and inhale. Reach up towards the sky or back behind yourself if you want. Coming into reverse warrior. Breathing into the left side body. And let your next exhale bring you into that side angle. Now, at first, just keep your hand behind you. That right hand, if you want, can be like kind of in the middle or on your right hip, or it can be on the top of your left hip. You can even kind of send it around to touch the top of your left thigh if you like that bind, right? That's not for everybody's shoulders. One more breath there. And now turn to look at the floor. Bring that right arm down to just hang and swing it a little back and forth, back and forth. Really feel the weight of that arm. And then when you're ready, swing that arm up into line with your ear with the pinky down and the thumb up. And as you press into your left forearm and open into that side angle, think about being equally long through both sides of the body. Now, if you want to go lower, you can take your hand, your left hand, and put it down on the block and be lower in this pose if you choose. Just enjoy finding that length through both sides of the body. One more breath. Good. We're going to come on back to Warrior Two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. Really feeling the feet in the floor. And then bring your hands on down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. Adjust your stance for your wide-legged forward bend here. And then grab your blocks, of course, if you need them. So as you come forward, if having a block or blocks under your hands sounds like a good idea, just be mindful and go ahead and bend a knee at a time, a few times, just to get adjusted a little bit in your legs there. Take your time, let it feel good. And then come on back into center, and you can use a block or your hands on the floor. Shift to the balls of your feet and lift your heels up a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot. And then bring the heels back down and see if you can lift all your toes up. That's really hard to make sure you're not rolling, right? You got to try to feel the big toe mound and the little toe mound into the floor. And then release your toes on back down. And now bend your right knee, but keep your left leg straight if you can, okay? And then walk your hands or your blocks more to the left and stay out in front of your foot. Don't walk into the foot. Stay out away from it. But you're really finding a little deeper stretch for the inside of that left thigh there, that left leg. And now come back to center with everything. Bend the left knee. And then again, once it's bent, stay straight in that right leg as you shift your hands or your block more to the right, but still stay in front of your foot there. And enjoy coming into that inner leg. And then come on back into center. And take your time. If you need to wiggle around a little bit more, by all means do. Trying to get yourself to where you're going to be comfortable to be with your breath. For a few breaths here, just being able to release into your pose. And enjoying that sense of just focusing entirely on your breath. Whatever helps you. If you like the mantra so, hum, you can inhale so, exhale, hum. You can think another word or mantra or count if that helps you stay with your breath. One more nice full breath here. And we are going to walk back over to our left foot here to come back into our lunge. So take your time and we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose from here. And you're really on your own here. If doing a vinyasa or a kriya sounds like a good idea, go for it. If you'd rather put your knees down and rest, put your knees down and rest. If you feel like you want to walk through your feet or do a hip opener or come into anything that feels right for you, right? Just be mindful. Good. And then we'll meet back in downward facing dog pose. Find your dog. Get really comfortable there in your dog. And we'll bring our feet maybe a little closer together because the right leg's going to come up in the air into that warrior, to that three-legged dog, sorry. And now we're going to come forward like we're coming to plank. We're going to bring the knee in towards us a little bit, towards our chest, and then we're going to inhale and stretch it back long. And exhale, coming forward with the knee and the shoulders. And inhale, stretch back. And one more time. Exhaling as you come forward. And then inhaling, coming back to that three-legged dog. Stay here for a breath. Feel equal out of your hands. And we will bring that right foot on forward and through for warrior two. So take your time. Get your heels lined up. Really be mindful of getting that alignment of your front knee there. And bring your hands together in front of your heart. And again, if you can let your chin come down, let yourself kind of look down at your hands a bit. Just really finding that centered feeling between your feet all the way up through your legs into your hips. Good. And then start to slowly rise to get your chin parallel to the floor. And we'll inhale the hands right on up through the midline. On the exhale, open the arms, turn the palms down as they start to descend for your warrior two arms. Reaching out through your fingertips, pressing your feet gently away from each other. Really coming into your hips there. Good. One more breath. Feel the power and strength of your warrior two. And we'll follow that left arm if we can behind us. We're going to turn the right palm up and inhale and reach up or behind yourself. Nice full breath into the right side. And as we exhale, we'll come into that side angle, keeping the left hand behind you if you can. So again, you can put your forearm down. See if you can actually spread your right hand really wide with the palm facing up. And then you can draw that left shoulder up for a second. Maybe you want to send your hand a little more to that right hip there behind you. Depends on you and your shoulder. And then we're going to turn to look at the floor and release the left arm so it can swing a little bit. Feel the weight of that arm now. It's just heavy, just hangs right there from your shoulder. Keep pressing into your right forearm there above your knee. Now we're going to swing that left arm up into line so that when we open into side angle and we press into that right forearm and draw the outer right hip back, we are right there. If your shoulder bothers you, put your left hand on your hip. You know that. So just enjoy coming into your extended side angle pose. If you turn to look up a little bit, sometimes that feels really good. You can if you want. Think of looking up a little towards the ceiling or towards your hand even. One more breath. We're going to press our feet away from each other and come on back into warrior two. Pressing into the feet really helps you get back into the core. Now reach out through your fingertips. Really find that powerful warrior two again. Nice. We're going to bring our hands down and we're going to turn our feet more parallel. And again, this time before you come down, clasp your hands behind you. Let's try this. And let yourself bend your knees and come forward. So you're pretty parallel, obviously, with your feet. Get comfortable enough where you're okay. You can stay parallel to the floor. You can have your knees bent, look down at the floor, be flat-backed. Or if you want to continue folding forward, you can. And some of you may want to release your arms away from your back when you're in this pose. It's usually a little bit easier in this pose than when you're in a forward bend with your feet closer together, but just be mindful, let it feel good, let your shoulders open up. One more breath. And then bring your hands back so that you can lower your arms on down. And we're going to walk over or send our blocks a little to the right. So if you want to go all the way over to your foot, you can. You can hold on to the outside of your ankle if you choose. And then bring your right hand up to your right hip, no matter how far you are there. And if you want to roll your right shoulder up a little bit, you can. Feel the feet on the floor. Bring that right hand down. We're going to walk back through center. And we're going to go towards the left. How far you go, totally up to you. Once you get set and how far you are, go ahead and bring your left hand to your left hip. You may even want to roll your shoulder up and kind of look up at the ceiling. That is a total optional twist there, you know that. Be where you can. And then we'll come on back. We're going to walk our hands on back into center from here. And go ahead and bend your knees a little bit, shift around if you need to adjust how wide your stance is, do, so that you can settle into the pose where you're very comfortable to be, whether it's elbows above knees, forearms or hands on the blocks, hands between your feet, or even walking your hands back behind you. And then again, focus in on that breath. One more nice full deep breath. And we are going from here to walk our hands back out. We're walking back to the right foot, come back to lunge, and back into our downward facing dog pose. And on to your choice of what to do, right? Out for planks, moving through to a back bend. You don't have to even do a back bend. You don't even have to move out of your down dog if you don't want to. So be mindful. Put your knees down and rest if you need to. Let it feel good. We'll meet back in downward facing dog pose once you finish the one that you're on. Good. And from here, we're going to bring our left foot forward and come into warrior one. Have both your blocks handy here in front of your mat. You're going to need them. So getting your back foot established as you bring yourself on into really finding that right angle for the back foot where you feel okay, like in your ankle, up into your knee and up into your hip, opening into the front of the right hip here. Full foot on the floor back there, and then release your arms on down. And we're going to make a big circle with our right arm. So we're very firm right here in the core body, right? We're going to bring our right arm forward and up. Now, you're going to follow your hand a little bit. You're going to look back behind yourself as you open the arm back behind and then bring it right on down. So you've got to be really strong in the core. We're going to do the left arm. Inhale it up. Now, same thing. You're going to kind of twist a little bit as you turn and look back at that arm coming around and down. And we're going to bring both arms forward and up. And bring them on back behind you, now focusing on your shoulders here. And one more inhale to rise the arms up into your warrior one. And you can clasp hands or keep your hands apart. That's up to you. Feel that lift in the front of the body. Really enjoy finding that sense of the feet equal in the floor, the arches lifting up. One more breath. And then bring your gaze forward. Lower your arms on down. We're going to come into lunge here. Bringing our hands to the blocks or the floor, up to you. Release your heel directly behind you. Now we're going to lower that knee down to the mat right now. So if you need a blanket underneath your knee, put one there. And then stay forward onto your blocks. Or maybe you decide you want to put your hands on the floor. Because we're going to bring our left hand up right above our left knee, on the outside of our left knee. And we're going to draw into a little twist here. So feeling that back foot, that right foot, the top of the toes pressing into the mat. Letting yourself come into a little twist here. And just breathe. Let it feel good. One more breath there. And then release to come back. Now you may want to use blocks on this one. We're going to think about lifting up higher. So you might want to put your left hand above your knees or both hands here on your thigh to support you. You may want to stay on your blocks. Some of you may want to bring your hands to your heart or stretch your arms up overhead. Totally up to you. If you feel better to be supported, be supported. Hands down, whatever height you need to be. Good. And then we're going to bring our hands on down if they were up. We're going to lift the back knee up and come on into a lunge here. And now, get to the highest height of your blocks and send them forward so far forward that they're way out there beyond you, okay? And you're gonna bend deeper into that front knee and launch into a warrior three. Turn the toes down, let yourself for a second here, breathe, get set here. And now as you exhale, bend both your knees, bring your right knee in beside your left. And when you inhale, stretch it back behind you. Toes are facing down, remember. And again, exhale. Now round into your back. Even let your nose come towards your knee. And then when you inhale, reach it back again. And let's do that one more time. Exhaling, bringing your nose in towards your knee. And then bring yourself back into your warrior three. Now from here, see if you can put your left hand on your left hip. Easy peasy. If not, don't do it. And if you want to turn to look to your left, you can. You can add a little twist. You can put your hand on your low back or not. And then you can bring your hands down. If anybody wants to think of lifting both hands up off your blocks, by all means do. Or if you just want to play a little bit more with that left hand up or reaching forward, do. Good. One more breath. And now bring your hands down if they were up. We're going to work our way back into a lunge. So if you could bring your blocks back with you, you can step gracefully back into your lunge. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. Once you're in down dog, feet a little closer together. Lift your left leg up in the air behind you. Bend the knee and open the hip. Let yourself stack that left hip a little bit on top of the right. Now pull your heel in towards your buttocks, your left heel. Let your quad stretch out. Straighten the leg out again. Now turn the toes down so your hips are square again. And then bring your foot down. You can do another vinyasa or kriya here, or you can say forget that and put your knees down. So do what feels good. Let yourself just be mindful. Take your time so that when you're ready, we can meet back in down dog again. Good. And this time the right foot will come forward. We're coming up for that warrior one. So be ready. We kind of know what's coming now. Get yourself adjusted in your stance where your hips feel good. If you need to let this stance get a little bit wider, let it get a little bit wider. So you're thinking of feeling this openness in your left hip, fully grounded in that back foot. Release your arms on down. Let yourself feel good. Squaring the shoulders to the front of the mat, remember. And we're going to circle the left arm first. Remember, this takes a lot, actually. Inhaling the arm up. Now, to turn and look back as it goes down is a pretty big deal. And then let yourself release the arm down and turn your shoulders back square. Right arm is going to inhale up. And this one's even harder in a way because you're twisting towards, right? Bringing the arm on down, letting it come all the way down. We're going to do both. Inhale, both arms up. And then exhale as they circle back behind you. Feel all that going on in your shoulders. And inhale, both arms up. And come on into your warrior one here. So again, you can clasp your hands. You can leave your arms as wide as you want. Or you can keep your hands over your shoulders. Just enjoy. Let this feel like just the easiest warrior one ever. Nice full breaths. And then we're going to release arms on down beside us, and we're going to come down with our hands for a lunge. You might want your blocks, and of course you might want a blanket underneath your knee. So we're going to lower that back knee down. If you need a blanket to put under it, do. Now at first just press forward a little bit. Let yourself feel a little more openness in the front of that left hip. And to add that twist, left hand stays down, right hand comes right up above to the outside of that right knee. And you're just going to twist, kind of press your leg into that right hand, but the right hand presses back into your leg. And now, oh my gosh, how far you come forward with your hips, totally up to you. Just be where you can. Let it feel good. One more breath. And now come on back and see, maybe you want your blocks. See if you can now start to think about bringing your shoulders up more, whether you put your hand on your thigh or both hands on your thigh to have yourself up here, or hands to your heart, or arms overhead, right? Totally up to you. You don't have to do any of this. You stay with your hands on your legs. You can stay with your hands on your blocks. Good. We're going to let our arms come down. We're going to lift the back knee up. Now we're coming into that warrior three. So put your blocks way far forward, highest height. And then think about how you got to push off of that back foot to get it all the way up into the air. Let it come on up. Turn the toes down. Get square in your hips. And now as you exhale, bend your knees. Bring your knees side by side. And when you inhale, reach back into that long leg. And now this time when you exhale, bring your nose towards your knee. Doesn't mean they have to touch. And then inhale, reach back long. And then one more time, exhale as you bring your face and your knee towards each other. Inhale, stretch back long. We're going to stay here. If you can put your right hand up on your low back, do. You can check your alignment. If you lay the hand back there, you can tell if you're flat. You can roll the shoulder up and look a little to the left, right if you want to. Adding that little twist. That's hard. And then you can bring your hands down. And anybody who wants to play in Warrior 3, if you want to bring your hands both up, or if you feel like you want to just play a little more with having your right arm reaching forward, just play a little bit for one more breath. And then you probably had entirely enough. Let's walk back into lunge. Come back into your lunge. And back into your downward facing dog pose. Feet a little closer together. Right leg up in the air. Bend the knee and open the hip. So stacking the right hip on top. Pull your heel in towards your buttocks. You can look underneath that right arm. Let it feel good. And of course, stretch that leg long. Turn the toes down. Bring the foot down. And do exactly what your body wants. And I'm telling you, if you feel like putting your knees down and coming into child's pose, you really ought to do it. If not, you feel real energized and you kind of want to go through those last vinyasas or kriyas, go for it. That was kind of crazy. Let's finish off. Back and down dog. And from here, let's bend our knees deeply. Press back out of your hands. So much that you almost feel like you can lift the heels of your hands off the floor, right? You have no more wrist crease now. It's gone. And you can jump or you can walk your way forward to get your feet hips distance apart and parallel. Bring your hands on up to your low back. Clasp them if you can. Bend your knees. Press into your feet. Rise up. Keep your hands behind you for a second. Let your chest feel nice and open. Feel the breath coming in and going out. And then let your hands release softly. And just bring them to meet right in front of your chest. Coming into your mountain pose. Enjoy the feeling of your heart beating, the energy flowing through your body. If you're, wavering around a little bit, that's okay. Let the body find its way. And then we'll unfold our arms on down beside us and shake out a little bit. Move around, whatever you need to do, move if you need to. And let's bring our mats into a wall. We have room. So, you two there. Let's see, you're here, you're here, you're here. So, Randy, you can either be at the door or you can bring yours over here by me if you want. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. So, Catherine, if you move a little more, yeah, there you go. Perfect. All right. So, we're going to come down onto our bellies on the floor. And let yourself be long so that when you tuck your toes under, you curl your toes under, you have your feet touching the wall. Like that, okay? So you've got your balls of your feet into the baseboard of the wall, and you can come up to forearms and let yourself, just for a second here, just putting the tips of your toes like that on the floor and the balls of the feet into the wall really stretches your feet out a little bit. I mean, you can even curl your toes more if you want. If you don't, you know, if you have that capability in the toes to do that. And we'll come on to forearms, and let's lift up into a forearm plank. Press. Now you may need to walk the balls of the feet a little forward so you can get your heels now up into the wall. Press into the wall with your heels. Imagine you're pulling your heels apart so your inner thighs are kind of reaching up towards the ceiling. And just enjoy finding that there, finding that strength. Good. And then come on down to your belly, and we're going to roll onto our right side. Stretch your right arm overhead. Now, if you can, keep your right leg long and the foot into the wall. But the outside of your right foot's all the way down to the floor, okay? It's like you're standing on it. You're going to bring your left foot up like you're doing tree. We're going to do a little Anantasana here. Now, if you press into the wall with that right foot, the ball of the foot maybe in particular, then maybe it's easy to let your left hand draw your left knee up towards your shoulder. Keep pressing into the wall, and you can extend that leg up long if you choose to. You don't have to. You can keep the knee bent. Keep pressing into that foot on the wall. It stabilizes you. Think of that left heel drawing forward, right? You can still have the knee bent. It's fine. Just be where you can. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to bend the knee again, bring the foot back down, and then just lengthen along again. So lie here on your side for a second. See how you feel before you roll to the other side. So we're going to come on back around and all the way through center to the left foot being on the wall. And, you know, I forgot to say, if you're not comfortable in your shoulder to lay your arm out like that, you can put a block under your head or a blanket. So press into that left ball of the foot on the wall. And again, think of bringing the right foot up, kind of like you're doing tree. You can decide if you want to bring your right hand to draw the knee in towards you more. You know, you can pull it in towards your shoulder, press into that foot on the wall, engage your belly. If you want to extend that top leg up, rotating the heel forward, you can either hold the leg on the inside or the outside, or you can hold your foot. You can do the big toe hold if you like, holding between your big toe and your second toe. So just be mindful. Remember, you're trying not to roll backwards onto your bottom, and that's the hard part, right? If you can push that foot into the wall, that can really help you. This is big outward hip rotation, yeah?
I think that's what I'm missing. Just the hip.
I love that. I love that comment. That's what I'm missing is the hip part. And then we're going to bring the foot on down. Let your leg lengthen long again. And we're going to come back to our bellies on the floor. Come on back into your forearm plank again with your heels up the wall. And then walk a little bit. Bend your knee at a time in this forearm plank. Let yourself kind of walk a little. And if you want to do a little bit more, walk your feet up towards your face and come on up into a dolphin pose. You can. You don't have to. That's up to you. If you'd rather keep your feet down by the wall and put your knees down and shift your elbows back and come up with your heels up the wall for your dolphin, by all means do that. So do what feels good for you, whether it's walking back and forth from plank to dolphin, or coming into your dolphin here with your heels up the wall. You can always walk up the wall if you've got your heels there up the wall and you feel comfortable to go up with a foot or both feet. So take your time. Let it feel really like it's just what you need today, whatever it is you choose to do. It's what your body needs for you to do, really. And when you're ready to rest, let's come into child's pose and do a little bit of thread the needle from our child's pose. So if you need a blanket behind your knees in child's pose, use it. But see if you can come up, thread the needle with your right arm through, and bring yourself into Right side of the head, releasing either onto your left hand, if you'd rather be up a little bit, or onto the floor. And just breathe. Let yourself release here fully. In between the shoulder blades on your back, and your low back and your hips. And then we'll bring our left hand back by our face. We're going to press up and we're going to thread the needle on the other side. So you just send that hand and arm through. Again, you can use your hand as a pillow under your head, or you can let yourself, come all the way down to the floor with the left side of your head. But let it feel easy and comfortable and releasing. Let your breaths be long and even. Nice. And then we'll bring our right hand back so we can press our way up from there. And we're going to come around to sitting. And we're going to, you guys will want to sit sideways on your mat. We're going to do a little wide angle, right? So letting yourself come, and you don't have to move your mat around. You can just turn and sit. It doesn't matter what direction you face. And if you need to, for a wide angle, if you need to sit up on a blanket, get a blanket and sit up on it. Have your blocks just in case you want them. They'll be handy. I like my blocks in front of me. And remember, everybody's built differently. Whether your feet are this far apart, your legs are more like at this angle or this angle, just has to do with how your hips are built. Remember, if you feel better off to bend your knees a little bit, you can always slip blocks. You can put blocks under your knees like that. Or you can get blankets and you can roll blankets up and put them under your knees. So that can help actually a lot if you're tight in your hamstrings and your low back. And then from here, just ease your way forward a little bit so that you come forward from your low back. Just enough to where you feel a stretch in your inner thighs, And it usually doesn't take very far. Feel your heels on the floor, draw them back towards you. Feel your knees and your toes facing up. And press into the ball of the feet a little bit. So you're feeling like your heels are drawing back towards you, but your balls of your feet are pressing out. And then you can decide, do you want to think of coming a little farther forward or not? It's totally up to you. You can release and put blocks stacked up underneath your forearms so that you can focus a little more without being in your hands or your wrists. You can reach for your feet. So if your legs are closer together and it feels really good to have your hands reaching down towards your toes, then do that. Just be mindful, coming into where you're able to be, where it feels like you can feel that release in the inner thighs. And it is like your legs are pinned down, like the inner thighs and the outer thighs are both pinning down towards the ground. Good. And then just breathe. Just be with your breath. I know it's not everybody's favorite pose, so good. One more breath here. And then we're going to walk ourselves up, and we're going to come into little side stretches by bringing our left hand to the left leg and sliding it down. Now, you can come over to your side stretch with your hand on your hip. You can, if you want, kind of bring your hand up onto your rib cage if you want to feel like how your ribs feel here. You can continue to put the hand up behind your head if that feels good. Or you can stretch your arm long, right? Some of you may even want to reach your hand down towards your toes. If your if your right hip floats up a little bit up on this, it's okay. Just let yourself breathe, and you don't have to go that deep. Just let it feel good. And then we're gonna slowly bring ourselves up. You gotta use your belly to do that. Right hand's gonna come down. And again, you're gonna slide your hand down only as far as feels all right to you. And then again, you can keep your left hand on your hip, or maybe you wanna explore your ribs a little bit. It's so cool, ribs are so neat, front and back here. And you can decide if you want your hand to go up towards behind your head, or if you decide to stretch the arm long, it's fine. You can always go back to where you were if it's too much. And if you like to reach your hand and come down towards your foot, you can. Good. And we're going to use our belly again to help us come on back up out of that. And then bring your legs on together. Stretch them out, move around a little bit. And we're going to come down onto our backs on the floor. So take your time, let yourself release on down. Bring your knees in towards your chest. Let the knees open to the side a little bit and your feet come towards each other a little bit. So it's not a huge, it's just your hips are kind of naturally going to where it releases them more. And let your knees go side to side. Let it feel good. Circle if you'd rather. Circle the knees a little bit. Good. And then bring your feet onto the floor and let your arms come down alongside your body. And now bend your elbows like we usually do for bridge, right? But what we're going to think of doing a little bit here is a fish pose. We're going to think of lifting our chin up and lifting up the upper back, coming on to kind of the top of the back of our head. And you can press down into your arms a little bit there to help you. So you're arched up a different way than you are in your bridge pose, right? Fish pose. And then come on back down. If that bothers your neck, don't do it, okay? You can always do supported fish with your blocks underneath you. I'll show you in a second. Some of you might want to actually bring your legs long, bring your arms alongside you, and lift up to the top of your head and do a full fish pose here. Not everybody likes to do these at all. In fact, I used to absolutely hate it, but now I feel better about it, but it's not my favorite pose. But you can also put blocks underneath you so that you can lie back on blocks, one to the lowest height. The second one for your head might be different, might be a little bit higher, or it might be the same height. And you can support right there at your right underneath your shoulder blades, or maybe across your shoulder blades, and be able to rest here and very easily let your chest open without any stress. It is a supported fish pose, and it's finding the right spot. Some people don't even want anything under their head. They want to lie on a block like this and let their head come back, but they don't have weight on their head like you do if you're in a full fish. And some people think this is the most uncomfortable, horrible thing there is. So be mindful. The block is under your shoulder blades, right? So it is a very different feeling, and don't do it if it doesn't feel good. So yours is too low on it. It needs to be way up higher. And turn the other way. Turn it the other way so that, yes. And then you can put your head on top of your blanket if you want to, or you like that? When you find the right spot, if it feels good, you know it, trust me. So if you'd rather do a bridge pose, don't listen to anything I'm saying and do a bridge pose, right? By all means, just let yourself come into whatever feels good for you. Mindful. Come down when you want and let yourself release. Whenever you're ready, you can bring your knees in towards your chest. You might decide you want to do little twists where you let your knees come side to side. across for your twist rather than the knees coming side to side. Or you might need to do something else entirely. By all means, let yourself allow your body to move off of you for a second. And I'll be happy to bring stuff when you start to settle down. Some of you are. Start to grab some bolsters. Remember, you have a wall there too. If anybody would like to turn and lie with their legs up the wall, you're more than welcome to do that. So wave at me if something sounds good that I haven't brought to you. Just allow yourself to start to settle into your breath. You're just accepting the breaths in and out, receiving your breaths. As the breath's quiet, you realize your body wants to follow your breath. So if you can, just kind of get out of your own way. Simply by focusing on your breath, coming back to your breath, and giving yourself these few minutes to completely and fully relax. breaths refresh you, bring you back into wanting to move your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet. Take your time about moving, whether you need to stretch or bend. Just be mindful. If rolling your head from one side to another feels good, you can as you come into moving. Whether you want to roll to either your right or your left side or not, it's up to you. You can always stay in that fetal position on your side for a little bit to adjust if that helps you. Mindful so that when you do feel like you're ready to rise up to sitting, it feels okay to do so, to be up again, to get your head up there again, to be above your heart, to sit however is comfortable for your hips, and being mindful of your shoulders feeling nice and released. And let your eyes be closed as you lengthen up through the top of your head. Back to your breath. Feel your breath coming in and going out through your nose. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day.